Good evening, everyone. Welcome to class today. I trust that you had a wonderful day today. I want to believe you can hear me well enough. The microphone seems to. Okay, please, can you confirm if you can hear me properly and loud enough before we proceed? You can put that in the chat window. I'll see it. Just let me know if you can hear me properly. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, guys. So we will continue from where we stopped last class. If I can remember where we stopped. We're still on the style guide. And I think we stopped at, let's see. Okay, I think I found it. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Then we're going to continue. I believe we can see my screen. We've been going through the style guide, which are which you can be called, which you can call standards or something, or what is expected, as a professional for you to do or have in mind. So we've checked a couple of ones. We checked blank lines indentation, avoiding long code lines, ensuring that our tags are closed or elements are having closed tags. So today we'll continue with never skip the title element. Never skip the title element. So the title element is required in HTML. The content of a page title is very important for search engine. I think we've been saying that multiple times. Search engine SEO. So the page title is used by search engine algorithms to decide the order when listing pages in search engine. So don't be too lazy to give a title to your HTML page. Try and give it a good title, be as descriptive as possible. Be as descriptive as possible. What that helps you to do when we come to search engine optimization is that it helps your page to rank higher, which means it may come up, in the first top 10 or top 20 pages, concerning whatever subject that the visitor has searched for online. So always try to, don't skip the title, just try and put something there, something as descriptive as possible. So the title defines the title element defines the title of the browser in the toolbar or the tabs. All right, it provides title for the page when it is added to favorites or bookmark. When you bookmark a page, the title of that page is what is used, to name the bookmark or in the favorites. It also displays the page in search engine. So the title of a page in the search engine. So it's very useful for you to add a title to your pages, your HTML pages. All right. Like I've said, we have to try and make it as accurate and descriptive as possible. Let it have a meaning. Like the example we see here, saying HTML style guide and coding conventions. Yeah, so that's what we're actually looking at. We have a chart here. Can everybody hear me well? Yoichiko is saying he can only hear me faintly. Is it the same with the rest of us? Or maybe I should raise my voice the more. Okay, Yoichiko, can you hear me like this? Am I more audible? Or you may want to increase the volume of your device. because every other person saying they can hear me clearly. You may want to increase the volume of your device, or you log out and then log back in. I think that should solve the issue here. Okay, thank you. So we continue. So omitting HTML and body, an HTML page will validate without the HTML tag or the body tag. It will still validate, which means it will still display. However, it is strongly recommended that you always add your HTML and body tags. Omitting them can produce error in older browsers. You understand? What we have been told is if you choose to take away the tags and just write normal um, HTML codes like this, or tag, maybe for example like this H1 to this, if you run to display, your browser will display it. Okay, but what may eventually happen, you know, in future, or at some times that you may not even expect it, is that um, you may have code errors. You may start having code errors, and because you will get to a place where you have to start talking. We have to talk about XML. I mean XML and XHTML. Those ones, those language, they don't take nonsense. You have to type everything the way they're supposed to be. So try not to omit these tags, even if they will run on your browser, especially when you're learning now. Try not to omit any tags at all. Ensure the tags are there so that when, no matter what the browser is, the browser will be able to interpret your page properly. So please always add those tags. So closing empty element. Now, while I was learning ASP.NET will not accept this type of tag when we talk about the empty element. I hope we know what empty elements are. Those are like the horizontal rule, HR, or the line break, which is BR elements. You can do it like this, which is allowed in HTML. If you do it this way, also is allowed. Now, this one, you can see the forward slash there. That's what is used to close empty elements. Okay, the empty elements, that's what is used to close them. They don't have a closing tag, but this is how you close them, close empty elements. So in case you are asked, this is how you close what? An empty element. XML and XHTML requires this closing of the empty tags or empty elements. Okay, I hope we understand what I'm saying. On a normal day for HTML, you can leave your empty elements this way, but for XML or XHTML language, you have to close it. So one major difference between XHTML and HTML is that XHTML is strong type. Strong type in the sense that there's how will I put it now? For example, the HTML tag. I think in the XHTML, all tags and the attributes and all that are written in lower cases. Okay, when you learn HTML, invariably you are learning XHTML too, because the difference between them is that XHTML is strongly typed, and when we say strongly typed, it means once something has to be in lowercase, it has to be in lowercase. If it's not in lowercase, there will be an error. All right, which I think is even better. Okay, so let's proceed. If there are questions, just drop it in the chat window for me. I'll pick it up from there. Now, add the lang attributes. We understand what lang attribute is, which is used to specify the language the web page is being written on. All right, so you should always include your lang attribute inside the HTML tag to declare the language of the web page. Okay, this is meant to assist the search engine and browsers. All right, so this is our lang attributes here, specifying en and then -us, which means English US. Okay, you can see en-UK, en-ng, ng, that's Nigeria. So I think I showed you the different lang coding for different countries. when we were treating this lang attributes in previous chapter. So the encouragement is always try to add it and specify it in your own coding or web page. It's a very good practice to do. The metadata. Metadata, we also looked at metadata, what we can use them to do, the importance of it. Metadata, you can have more than one metadata tag, in your head section, your HTML page. So to ensure proper interpretation and correct search engine indexing, both the lang and the character encoding, that's the char sets, should be defined as early as possible in the HTML document. So these things, especially when it comes to metadata, it helps your site to perform well when we talk about search engines or search engine optimization. That's SEO. So it helps your site to really perform well. Okay, so when people are searching, it helps them to find your site much easier and in a way that they push other sites downward. And once it is your site that is being found more, it will be recommended more to people or visitors when they visit Google to do anything. And then what that means is that you invariably start getting more views, more activity on your website. Okay, so these things that we're mentioning, please try to practice them and ensure that you're able to do that, on the go. So setting viewport. Viewport is the user's visible area of a web page. This varies with the device. It will be smaller on a mobile than on a computer screen. I know we also dwelt on this viewport and we did some examples around it. Of course, viewports is what helps your website. For example, you develop a website on your computer. Everything is big, and then somebody wants to access it from a phone. The viewport is what allows the website to kind of shrink and try to adjust to the screen size of that phone. All right, so we have this metadata. What's this metadata? Viewport. The content, we're talking about the width equals to device width. That's what I'm saying. It helps to adjust, to just adjust to the device width. And at what scale? Scale of one. All right, scale of 1. That's that's what happens. So again, gives the browser instruction on how to control web pages, dimension, and scaling. So we're going to continue. So setting viewport, the width equals to device width. Parts set the width of the page to follow the screen width of the device, which will vary depending on the device. Again, the width, device width, what that means is that it's telling the browser, adjust yourself to the width of the device that the visitor is using to view it. And the initial scale of part sets the initial zoom level when the page first load. All right, so let's proceed. Now, HTML comment. Short comments should be written on one line like this. If you have short comment, this is how you just write it on one line. If the comment is so long, spanning through more than one line, this is how you do it. They must be enclosed between these comment tags. Okay, so whatever is in between this comment tag will be commented out. They won't be considered uh, when running the page on the browser. So long comments are easier to observe if they are well indented, with 2 spaces. All right. Please, again, if you have questions, please put it in the chat window. Then we talk about using styles. Use simple syntax for linking to style sheets. This type attribute is not necessary. Okay, so we've gone through style sheet. We know how to link it. We know how to do all that already. When we linked an external style sheet, if the file itself, the .css file itself, into a page, that's what we're looking at here. Okay, then short CSS rules can be written compressed So what we are saying is that you can write your CSS rules like this. This braces does not have to form multiple lines. You can try to write your CSS rules in on one line. If they are not too much, if they are getting too much, just please break it. You know what we talked about, you writing um, you having too long line of code may not really help you to be able to read properly your code. So using style sheets, long CSS rules should be written in multiple lines. So if it's long, of course, this is what you do in normal day. Okay. Even if it's short, if you use this format, you're fine, you're good to go. So this is just us saying that this can be done. So long CSS rules should be written over multiple lines. Now place the opening bracket on the same line as the selector. Use one space before opening bracket, two space of indentation. This is just talking about the structure, of defining a multiple line rule in CSS. All right. So lowercase file names. And let's just listen to this very well. Some web browsers, Apache, Unix, are case sensitive about file names. For example, London cannot be accessed as London with a capital L. So London with a lowercase l cannot be the same thing as London with a capital L on Apache server or Unix. Now, other web browsers like Microsoft and Microsoft IIS are not case sensitive. London JPG can be accessed as London JPG. That's lowercase of the same word can still be accessed as uppercase of the same word. Now, if you use a mix of upper and lowercase, you have to be aware of this. If you move from a case insensitive to a case sensitive server, even small errors will break the web. So what we are saying here is, again, is to avoid this problem, always use lowercase. We've said it over and over again. When you're naming your file, maybe there's a file you want to upload online, give the file all the name, the alphabets you're going to use or the case you're going to use, please make it lower cases. So file extension. I hope there's no question. Please, if there are, please do let me know. File extension. HTML file should have a .html extension or a .htm extension. It is allowed. So if you save your file in .htm, it's allowed. It's still okay. It will still run as HTML file. Then we have CSS files should have .css extension to actually make them to be CSS. Same goes for JavaScript as well. So the difference between HTML and HTML is that both will be treated as HTML by any web or web browsers. Okay. So what we're saying is that there's no difference between them. Okay, both of them will be treated as same thing on web browsers. Now let's look at this also very carefully. When a URL does not specify a name at the end, for example, there's no file name here at the end. This is just the website. Okay, no file name slash abcd.htm or HTML. So what happens is that the server will add a default name, okay, such as index.htm. Maybe some of us have heard of index.html or index.htm or default.html or default.htm. I think I mentioned this in one of our previous classes, that your home page is usually named with this file name, index.html, default.html, and so on like that. So that's why when you browse to a site, what you just type is www.sososite.com. You do not say /htm or HTML. Once you just put it that way, just as we have it here, the browser will redirect to open any page that has this name or this name or this name or this name. All right, so that's default file name. So if your browser is configured only with index.html as the default file name, your file must be named index.html, all right, and not default.html. However, servers can be configured with more than one default file name. Usually, you can set up as many default file names as you want. We'll get to understand this soon properly, how to set up those default file names. We'll see those ones. Sometimes within this course, we will start talking about web servers and all that. But right now, we need to just learn the language first before we start saying, oh, I want to build a website, I want to host my website somewhere and all that stuff. What we want you to be able to do at the end of this is that you look at the web page and you just look at the code and you can detect what those codes are saying. Or if you are employed as a webmaster somewhere and you're looking at a page, this page is not displaying very well. What do I do? Oh, I want to add something to somewhere on this page. And you whip your laptop out and you feel, okay, let me go to the back end of this. And then you start to look at the codes. So that's the essence of this course that we're looking at right now. Learn the language. When you learn the language, you can interpret it, you can read codes, and then you'll be able to like solve problems, when the time comes. All right. So please, again, I want to encourage you, take this very seriously, and God bless you. So let's continue. We are now going to what we call HTML entities. I hope there's no question from the previous chapter. We're going down to HTML entities. What are HTML entities actually? What are they? So these are reserved characters in HTML, okay, that must be replaced with character entities. All right. Some characters are reserved in HTML. If you use the less than or greater than signs in your text, the browser might mix them up with a tag or think they are tags. All right. Character entities are used to display reserved characters in HTML. A character entity may look like what we have below. So let me just show us what we are talking about, for example. So I'm just going to create a new folder. You may want to use this opportunity to create yours too. A day 15 folder. Day 15 folder. All right. So I'll create a new file inside day 15. Let me just name this one entity.htm. So I can leave my code as .htm or I name it HTML. For consistency's sake, I will add my L at the end here. Just have to be consistent, All right, so let's take for example now, I'm writing this. Oh no. Say I'm writing this code here. I hope you can see me. And I say that. Then I want to say 5 is greater than 6. Okay. Now, if care is not taken, this may cause a problem. All right. The browser may display well, but it may cause a problem for you. Okay. And the what's it called now? The browser may think it's like I'm supposed to have a closing tag here, or I'm supposed to have a new tag, or a new element being displayed here. So what's going on? Or for example, you want to say, okay, this is the greater than symbol, for example, and say this, well, like that. Sometimes your browser may get confused and may start looking at this as what's this actually? What am I supposed to do with this? Okay, so this kind of character is what they call entities and character entities. So what we want to do now is how do we use codes also to form these character entities in a way that our browser or whatever we're using will not be confused. So to display the less than sign, we must write this ampersand LT and then semicolon. All right, that will display the um, less than sign. So if I go back, I've copied this now. If I go back to my code and I want to display that here, be inside this paragraph, okay, I paste it here. So it's going to display the sign for me, less than, or we use this code here. The semicolon is part of it. It's part of what we're using to display what we're displaying. So let me just say BR. So here, let me close my BR tag. All right. And let me do twice. So now I'm putting this one. So you can see it has displayed the second one as well. So these character sets or entity character sets are important for you to know as well, so that when you're writing your code or you're writing a mathematical equation, you want to display blah 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 like that, you need to make use of the character set to avoid confusion at any point in time. So advantage of using an entity name, the entity name is easy to remember. And the disadvantage is that browsers may not support all entity names, but the support for entity numbers are good. So this is entity name. I think this is entity number. Okay. So let's proceed. If you have questions, please put it in the chat window so that I can pick it up from there. Oh, I've duplicated this page. Let me just take one out. Okay. So we also have non-breaking space. Non-breaking space is an entity character as well. So a commonly used entity in HTML is the non-breaking space, which is this MBSP. I use it a lot. You know, while I was coding in ASP.NET. Now let's look at what this means. Huh? That MBSP is supposed to create a space between two words. Okay, so let me take this out. Let me say, I'm saying I am going to school today. So you can see that these words are moped up together. So if I come here and I put this, I put this one here, you can see it has created space in between them. That's the job that this guy does. Ampersand MBSP semicolon. That's the way your browser interprets it. As far as your browser is concerned, it's a space, non-breaking space. Non-breaking means it does not break the text to the next line. That's what it means there. So two words separated by non-breaking space, we stick together. In other words, they'll be on the same line. And this is handy when breaking the words might be disruptive. Okay. So non-breaking space. Another common use of non-breaking space is to prevent browsers from truncating spaces in HTML pages. Tip: non-breaking space hyphen. This is if you want to form an hyphen, this is the code that you use. This is the number code that you will use. So for example, if I copy this now and I put it, say, let me put it in here in this paragraph, okay? I paste it there. You can see what it gives me. The open and close bracket is because I copied the bracket with it. So if I take the brackets out, so it's going to give me this, okay? Just the hyphen alone. That's what it's going to give me. So there are many other entity code that you can use. So when someone is asking a question, when I run the page for the alt and it gives me less than sign instead of greater than sign. Yeah, now it's supposed to give you less than sign, not greater than. That's what it's supposed to give you. It should give you less than sign. Yes, it won't collapse to the next page. Non-breaking space will not break the line to the next page. Everything will still be on the same line. So Esther, I think I've answered your question. It's supposed to give you less than sign. I hope I'm reading that well. That's what it's supposed to give you. Okay, so let's proceed to the next slide. So these are some of the useful HTML character entities that you may need to get used to. There's the greater than, less than sign, as you can see. Less than sign is there. Oh, you didn't really get the non-breaking space. Okay, let me go back there since we've not gone too far. The non-breaking space, this ampersand NBSP, what it does is that it creates a space. It works like your space bar. You know what your space bar does on your keyboard? That's what it does. Okay, that's what it does. So from my example, this is the non-breaking space here that I put here. Okay, so let's say I take them out. Let me take it out. Look at this word here now. Look at it here. So there's no space after two, there's no space after school. So it's like writing it as if it's one word. So, but you now want to put in space in between to make it look okay. All right. So instead of you just saying pressing space bar and pressing space bar or something, what you do, you can put the ampersand NBSP semicolon in there. Write it again, ampersand NBSP semicolon. So you can see it has spaced them out already. So the reason they call it non-breaking space that it does, when it breaks them, it doesn't take the line after it to the next line. It doesn't break to the next line. I hope that works. I hope you understand now. Esther is saying what is used for greater than sign. All right, there. Thank you. So Esther, this is where your question is answered. This is the one for greater than sign. Can you see it? LT, less than, greater than GT. Okay, but for the number entity, it is ampersand hashtag 62 followed by the semicolon. Always include the semicolon. Very, very important. I hope that answers your question, Esther. So this is one for ampersand, then double quotation. You can see it there. And then we have single quotation mark as well. That's apostrophe. You can see those there. All right. So there are other ones as well. This is for cent. For pounds, it's there. For yen, euro, copyright is also there. And then registered trademark. I thought I was going to see naira, but I didn't see naira here. Okay, what's the difference between non-breaking space and normal paragraph? Okay, let me go back to code. This non-breaking space is not a paragraph. It's a character entity that when it exists within your text or within your page, your browser translates it into something else. So as we can see here, ampersand MBSP colon would have been interpreted as ampersand NBSP here on the preview page. But because it's an entity name, okay, it means something else to the browser. It means something else to your browser when your browser is loading up your HTML page. And what this particular one means to your browser is space, what your space bar does. That's what it means. Okay. And it's not something you compare with paragraph. No, it's not something you are comparing with paragraph, because paragraph is an element. Okay, this is an entity character or something. It's an entity character. Okay, so it represents space. I don't know if I have answered your question, if I've been able to explain better to you, Mr. Agbola. Okay. You can continue using the space. See, what I'm trying to do here, Mr. Paul, you can continue using space bar if you want. What I'm trying to do here, in what occasion do we? You see, when you start to code in, when you start to code in proper web programming, okay, when I say proper web programming, like the the Python we are going to do, even in ASP.NET, when you start to code, there's something we call label. When you are specifying some things in label, you may not be using spacebar to do any specification. You may need this NBSP something to do space. So what they mean, they have a meaning to your browser. Hey, Idayat has sent me a piece to Idayat. Wait, let me finish. Okay, so like this, yen, cents, all these things you are seeing, this is what they do. This is their own name or their code. And when you type this on your browser right now, for example, now if you type and copy ampersand and ampersand copy semicolon, it's going to give you the copyright symbol. So for that NBSP, this thing, what it means is space. You can choose to type your space out with your keyboard by pressing the space bar if you want. Okay. So for example, if I want to do like this copy now, for example, I want a copyright symbol. Maybe you want to write, let me just take this out. You say ampersand copy and this. What am I typing? Percentage about ampersand. So you can see the symbol is out. 2023. That's how you do your copyright. All right, registered is there. You can go down and say, you can be trying this in your own as I'm talking. Ampersand reg semicolon. So to give you that small register R that you do see on some company's site or something. All right. So that's what these things do, and we need to know them so that when you are coding, you can also make use of them. You can see that here. So that said, there is a website to get the entity code now. Yes, there is. I'm going to upload a link for you where you see all these entity codes, as many as you want. They are there. Okay. They are all there. Let me see. You can research on the website on the internet as well yourself. So, but these are just some you may use regularly. Okay, by yourself. So let's move on. So there's what we call combining diacritical marks. Okay, they are critical marks. They are glyph added to letters. And when we say glyphs, they are accents or something, add them to letter. Like when you want to write fiance, there's this sign on top of the E, I think the last E or so, those are their critical marks. Okay. And their critical marks appear both above and below letters, inside a letter and also in between letters. Their critical marks can be used in combination with alphanumeric characters to produce a character that is not present in the character set or encoding used in the page. All right. So these are some of the critical marks that you have and what you use to construct them. These things here, these codes here are what you use to construct them. You can see that this character A, the mark, there's an accent mark that points to the left. This one is pointing towards the right. This one, I don't know what these things are called anyway. I think I've forgotten what this one is called. So there are cases where you need to put this in your in your code, or I mean in your page, but you can't find it on the keyboard. It's not where on the keyboard. You probably have to go to Microsoft Word to copy it and paste it there, but you probably don't want to be doing all that. So you can use this construct to start forming those things on these different um, letters, as case may be. Okay, so you can see the character, the main character, and then the code following it. So if we for example, let's try and do I want to do this last one here. So I have a capital letter O followed by ampersand, hashtag 771 and semicolon. So it's going to give me this O with kind of curly whatever on it. All right. So and so on like that. You can use any one that you want in your code. Whichever one that you want in your code, you can use all it their critical marks, combining their critical marks. All right. So we're moving next to symbols. Symbols. Any question again? So moving next to symbols. No question. So let's continue. HTML symbols. So symbols that are not present on your keyboard can also be added by using entities. Many mathematical, technical, and currency symbols are not present on normal keyboard. To add such symbols to an HTML page, you can use the entity name or the entity number, okay, either a decimal or hexadecimal reference for your symbol, which is what we've been doing. Okay, so for example, to display the euro sign with the entity name, a decimal number or a decimal and also the hexadecimal value. So this is the entity name. The first line of code you see as the entity name. You can write this out for yourself. The second line is the decimal, okay, and the last one is the hexadecimal. And this is what these things will display for you. They will all display the same thing, but you've used the different ways of writing them, either with the name, entity name, which is the first one, then the second one is the decimal, and the third one is the hexadecimal. All right, so that works for pound sign. I mean euro sign. Sorry, that's for currency. All right. So some of the mathematical symbols supported by HTML is what you are seeing on the screen right now. You will have. I will also try and provide some HTML reference with regards to this for us. Okay. All right. Let's continue. Because maybe you study this when you get the slides. So these are some Greek letter symbols. I mean, supported by HTML. Okay. You can also study that. All these symbols. This is how you form them: the entity and then the number. Okay. This is their description. So these are just HTML code. So the way you know all these things, you practice them. And then some other ones as well. This arrow and all that. So other entities supported, we've seen some of this already. And that's that for that chapter. Okay. So depending on whether you're going to use them or not, you can always make reference to what we've seen. Okay, so we have emojis, HTML emojis, and many of us have been using emojis, especially when we chat and all that. I remember when I just got on Yahoo, we know how to use emojis. There's the one for smiling, there's one for sad, there's the one for tongue out, and so on like that. For example, the one we usually use for smiling has been, I can't remember. I think this and this. Nah, I can't remember again. I've forgotten. That's when we are chatting. So that works for some chatting. What did I type? Let me see again. For some chat platforms, it works. And what this will give you is a smile. That's what it's supposed to give you for chat platforms. If I'm writing email, sometimes I use it and it gives me that. But that's for those word processing, applications. So for example, if I create a new Word file, okay, I'm just trying to show you an example. So that turned into a smile. I can do this and do this. I mean, small p. And that turned into a smile. This is supposed to give me sad and so on like that. So that's for Word anyway. So let's check out what we have with HTML. So emojis look like images or icons, but they are not. They are letters. Those are, I mean, characters from the UTF-8 Unicode character sets. Okay, to display an HTML page correctly, a web browser must know the character set used in a page. This is specified by, in the meta tag. We've seen this before, and let me see if we have it here. So you can see it here. So it's a encoding or character set that you need to tell your browser, and it helps your browser to know the kind of code that is coming in. Okay, if it's not specified, the UTF-8 character set will be used by default. So whether it's specified or not, it will still use UTF-8, except your device specify something else for that. Okay. So UTF-8 characters, many UTF-8 characters cannot be typed on a keyboard, but they can always be displayed using numbers which are called entity numbers. For example, A is 65, B is 66, C is 67, maybe D is 68, and so on like that. For A is 65, and so on like that. To, to implement that, this is what they are talking about. So ampersand hash 65 we translate into A. So if I come here and I say pound sign, sorry, the ampersand and the pound sign, then you write 65. It will translate it to A. I don't know if you can see it here. It is translating into A, letter A. So if I say 66, B, 67, C, how about 68, D, 69, E, and so on like that. All right. So that's a character set. Okay. So in explaining this, the meta char set or character set equals to UTF-8. UTF-8 defines the character set that your browser, that your page is written in. All right. So the characters ABC are displayed by the numbers 65, 66, 67. All right. To let the browser understand that you are displaying a character, you must start the entity number with the ampersand and the pound sign and end it with what? A semicolon. Okay. And end it with a semicolon. So that tells your browser that this is what? It's a character set and not just a number. 1 minute, please, guys. Okay, I'm back. So let's go on. All right, so emoji characters. Emojis are character sets from the UTF-8 alphabet. So we can see this laugh out loud. This one that is laughing out is equal to this. This is what the number used to form that. And this love eyes as well. This is the number used to form that. You can start trying this thing on your own and start seeing whether they are true or not. And I'm also going to try it here for you. Okay. Remember, you're supposed to precede it with what? The ampersand and the pound sign first before you then type out the number. So you type the number 1, 2, 8, 5, 1, 6, followed by semicolon. So that will give you your smiley. Okay. I can choose to make this bigger. let me say font size. I want it to be bigger, 100 points. Okay, so you can see that right here. So let's say we change, let's say we change or we put another one there, and we say again, always proceed with what? Pound, I mean the ampersand and the pound sign. All right, then you type out the number 128. You can see what's happening here with, as I'm changing the number, the character is changing. All right, so you can try different numbers at your hand there when you have the time. Okay, so different numbers can come up. This is Chinese, I don't know. Okay, and followed by the semicolon. So let's try the last one as well. Last one says this. Okay, 128 151. Okay, so that's how you form your emojis. Okay, that's how you form your emojis. Again, we'll still see reference, still get us reference to different emojis that we can form. So since emojis are characters, they can be copied and displayed, and they can also, their size can also change. Them can also be changed, just like I did now with the one I worked with here. So I applied size where I put them inside a character, inside a paragraph. So I can apply different size to them. And that's what we are also seeing here as well. Okay, so emojis are not, they're not picture file. They are also like text file. I mean, sorry, they're not picture file that you are displaying on the page. They are also characters like your text, like your ABCD that you're seeing on the screen. So you can copy them and paste them in different places. So these are some emojis that you can also work with. Some of them are here: telephone, the smileys are all here, laugh out loud, laugh and cry, laugh and sweat. You know, different emojis like that that you can actually work with. Okay. Okay, so going now to uniform resource locators. Any question on the emojis? So going to uniform resource locator. This I would like us to pay attention here, because this one is not emoji, it's not code. That this is something that you need to understand. All right. So a URL is another word for web address. Get that understanding. Your URL is another word for web address. So I can say, oh, give me the URL. Or I say, give me the web address. I'm talking of the same thing. Okay. Type out the URL, type out the web address. They are the same thing. Do you understand now? So a URL can be composed of words, e.g., gschools.com, or an internet protocol, which is an IP address. Could be 192.68.20.50. Okay, that's a URL for you. Okay, but most people enter the name when surfing because names are easier to remember than numbers. Let me show you guys something. Pay attention to what I want to show you now. CMD. Every website you go to has an IP address. Every single website you go to have an IP address. So take, for example, and this is the way you get the IP address of that website by your own, on your own, provided your system is connected to the internet. So I want to get the IP address for www.google.com. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll say ping, P-I-N-G, and then I'll type www.google.com, and I press enter. So you see this number that you have here is the IP address for google.com. If I copy this number, if I copy this number right now, I hope that is copied. Let me check out my notepad and ensure that I have copied that. Okay, I have the number copied. So, and then I open my browser. and I paste the number, I say HTTPS colon, I paste the number here. This is supposed to open Google for me. Now don't worry about this. This is because I'm using IP address. So it's supposed to open Google site for me, just like you can see now. And it has translated back to Google already. So every website that you see on internet has an IP address. In fact, as far as the server there is concerned, is an IP address that it knows. Someone has a question. It says, sir, when writing on site and we want to write email and maybe telephone number, those image in front, are they represented by emoji also? Yes, you can use emoji to represent them. You can use emoji to represent, but you are not limited to just emoji. You can use an image if you want, a photo file if you want. Those are PNG file without background. This thing, you can use them. Okay, using the emojis, fantastic. It's even easier for you. It can align well with the rest of the numbers that you want to write, or the email address you want to write. They will all align well because they will be on the same line. So you don't have to say you are reducing the size of the image or the icon or something. You can use the emojis. Yes. Yeah, of course you can. They work together. You don't generate IP address by yourself. Okay. So the thing with IP address is when you want to host a website, you go to a web hosting company. All right. So the web hosting company gives you a web space, and then you tell them what you want your website to be, maybe www.idayat.com. Okay. So they now create a space for you on their server, and on the back end, redirect your own web space, your website name, through one server and give it an IP address like that. So it is when they are now giving you the details of after you've made payments, and they're giving you details like your web address, which is www.idayat.com. They will also now provide for you an IP address to that your web address, which if you type it into a browser, your browser translates to www.idayat.com. All right. Or when you ping it, like I pinged this one now, it will translate to that. So let me try to ping mail.com, for example. So mail.com, you can see that this IP address is different from the one for Google. So if I copy this one as well, and I come to my browser, and I say HTTP, let me not add S first. Let me see what's going to happen here. And I put this. So it's going to give me this because the website is created with a secure link. So what I need to do here is just say proceed. This Google warning me that the site I'm going to is not private. That's because I'm using the IP address, and that's not a normal thing to do anyway. So here it's saying URL not found because it's unable to translate this. I'm not sure why, but it's unable to translate it. So some web servers will not allow you to access them through IP address for security reasons. Because once I know your IP address, I know you. It's like as if I know your house, your room in your house. You understand? So if an hacker wants to hack, they can hack you through your IP address, because the IP address cannot be redirected. But your web name, the name of your website, you can redirect it. You can give it. It can even be a pseudo name. This gschool.com might be a pseudo name, for example. But when they know the IP address of that website, it's like they already know. They know that this is the site I'm going to. So they are not even playing around at all. I don't know if all this makes sense to you guys. Okay. But because I have an IT background, so I'm able to understand those things. But it's nothing difficult. Just know that every website has an IP address. And for you to get that IP address, you can practice what I just did just now. Okay. So let's proceed. Okay, so URL means uniform resource locator. Let's not forget that. Uniform resource locator. So web address request page from the web servers by using a URL. Okay, I hope you understand what web servers are. That's where your website is hosted. Okay, so a uniform resource locator is used to address a document, okay, on the web. Is used to point to a document on the web. That's what we are saying here. So for example, this web address www.youtube.com/html/default.asp is a uniform resource locator and is pointing to this default.asp, which means that if you run this in your browser, the page that we open is named default.asp. And below it, we have the syntax, okay, which we will explain very shortly. This is syntax of what a URL looks like or should look like, okay? So here is where we explain this syntax. You can see the scheme here. This scheme here defines the type of internet service. The most commonly used one is HTTPS and HTTP, okay? We also have some like that is called FTP. Maybe some of you have heard of FTP before. I think there's SFP also, but the most popular one you will see is HTTP or HTTPS. For most websites, almost all the websites they use that. You understand? I don't think there's any other website that does it. So that's what it is. So websites use HTTP or HTTPS. If you are building a website, that's what you will use. Okay. So also when you buy a domain or buy a hosting space from a web hosting company, they don't only give you this, they also give you FTP. FTP is file transfer protocol, which means it deals with files. Just transfer file from maybe from your local system straight into your web browser, web hosting space that has been given to you. All right. So the next one is prefix. Prefix being the domain that it defines the domain, and that's www. Okay, the www that we always see is a prefix. Then followed by the domain name itself. The domain name itself. So when they ask you what's the domain name, your domain name is not www.myname.com. No, your domain name is myname.com. Do you understand? The www dot is a prefix because if you type myname.com in a browser, it will still open. If you type www.myname.com in a browser, it will still open. I hope you understand. So your domain name is myname.com, or like we have here, gschools.com, right? Then we have ports. Many of us may not have been seeing this or may not know about ports because we hardly even read the URL of whatever website we go to. So this defines the port number, okay, at the host. The port number at the host. I'm not sure how I can explain this port number to us since we don't have a mighty background in networking anyway. But the default port number that comes if you don't specify a port number is port 80. So most of the websites that you don't see a port number on them, they run port 80. Let me show us something. I hope I can show you that here for you to understand what port number is. So let me say, for example, I want to access the cPanel of this website. Pay attention to this place. Can you see 2083? This cPanel site you're seeing is running on port 2083 for this website. I don't know if that makes sense to you. So this port number is what we are seeing here. You proceed with a colon first, then the port number appears. So which means this particular site is on port 2083. That's what we call port number. But the default usually is 80. If you don't specify anything, it means the site you are currently accessing is running on the default port number, which is 80. I've come across situation whereby I'm developing an application for my company, and I do not want to use um, the default port number because there's another website that is running on the same server that is using the default port. So what I usually do is I'll now put 8085 or 8044, just something there. I can put 81 as a port number. I can put 82 as a port number so that when I'm running the website, maybe the website is james.com. So I can run the website as, I mean, my own website that I'm developing with that port number as james.com colon 82 or something. Okay, so it will redirect to that particular website I've developed on that port number. Then we have the path. The path, of course, is now start talking about the folder where the file reside, and then followed by the file name itself, which is the name of the document itself. Any question? Any question? All right, no question. Let's continue. So common URL schemes is what we've seen as well. HTTP, which means Hypertext Transfer Protocol, is common for web pages, non-encrypted. Non-encrypted means it's not secured. Then we have the HTTPS, that's Secure Hypertext Transfer Protocol. That's for secure web pages, and it is encrypted. Then we have File Transfer Protocol, that's FTP, and that is for downloading and uploading files to your server. Then we have the file itself, that's a file on your computer. All right. I think this is where, okay, we still have encoding. So URL encoding. URL can only be sent over the internet using the ASCII character set. If a URL contains characters outside the ASCII set, okay, the URL has to be converted. URL encoding converts non-ASCII character set into a format that can be transmitted over the internet. I know these are technical jargons, but just know that your URL that is being set across the internet, if they are not in the character set they are supposed to be, they get converted. Okay, across as they are transmitted over the internet, they get converted. So URL encoding replaces non-ASCII character set with this symbol of percentage, the percentage symbol, followed by the hexadecimal digits. The URL cannot contain space. URL encoding normally replaces space with a plus sign or a %20 code. Now, let me try and explain that to us. Okay, let me see. What's the best way of explaining that to you? Okay, let me go to google.com. You know, we said here that let me do this. We said here that URL encoding replaces non-ASCII characters with the percent symbol, okay, followed by hexadecimal digits, which is what we are seeing in this one, that where we have %20, okay. While some websites, I mean some web browser or web page we use plus sign to depict the space. So take for example, I'm searching for James Oguremi. No, let me not use my name before you guys are looking at what they put on the internet about me. Let's say I'm looking for James Bond. All right. Now I'm going to copy this URL that is here that gave me this page of James Bond. I want to show us something in there. Paste. Can I increase this file size? I mean this screen. Let me see if I can increase it. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing now. Okay, good. So don't worry about all these other gibberish. Those are just the encryption that comes with it. But look closely here. This is James Bond, correct? This is James Bond. You know, I did not put a plus at all when I was searching. It's a space. So what we are saying here is that these non-ASCII characters will now be converted for you. And then that's where we have this plus sign, which replaces space. Replaces space with plus sign. That's what we have here. Okay. I know this is a bit technical for us, but just do as if you understand. Now I'm going to also let me see. Okay. Just do as if you didn't see what I'm showing you. Okay. Don't go and tell anybody that you've seen what I'm showing you right now. I'm not supposed to show you, but the best way for me to just make you understand. I want to show you how it uses space also to specify, uses the percentage 20 to specify space as well. To replace, to specify space. So what I'm going to do, this is official stuff I'm opening for you. Don't worry. We're good to go. So I can't think of some other way of showing you that percentage symbol space. Okay. So let me open this guy here. Now I'm opening let me see. So I'm opening a file. Let's see, do I even have this thing here? This one is using percentage 2f. So you can see that different platforms or server have different ways of changing or converting the ASCII code, as case may be. So if you look at this now, you have this percentage 2f personal follow. Let me copy this out and paste it here too. So we have this percentage 2f here. Sorry, let me expand this. Like this is what is specifying. This is project. No, forget this percentage 2f. So I'm actually referring to this project name, Project Amazon. You know, that's the name of the folder here. So there's a space in between here. So that space now has been replaced with percentage 20. Okay, percentage 20. So that is, this space now has now been converted into ASCII code, which is percentage 20. I don't know if that makes sense to us. Let me just close this. Don't save. And I'll close this too. So that's the simple way I can explain what this is saying to us here. So we have some other characters and also that can also be converted, like what we are seeing on the screen right now. So your browser will encode the inputs according to the character set used on your web page. Default character set in HTML5 if UTF is UTF-8. Okay, so from this is Windows, this is like the old one, and for UTF-8 this is what you have as a character set. That's what you're going to see in the web browser URL when it's trying to translate this particular symbol, okay, into a URL for your web browser. It's going to translate into all these codes that you can see here. All right. So you don't need to worry yourself too much about it. I just wanted us to know, to have an idea of something that happens maybe when you're browsing or you're sending some information across the internet, that there's that conversion that happens, and just have an idea of what it is. This is where we're going to end today's class, I believe. Yep. So these are other examples. All right. So if there's a character like this in your URL, okay, or in the name of a file, your browser will convert it either into this or into this. That's what we are saying. In order for it to display that page, it has to convert that for you. Okay. So we end the class for today here. We'll continue tomorrow. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? I think tomorrow we're going to be looking at one of the topic we'll be looking at tomorrow is forms. Forms. We start looking at something interactive. Okay, forms. So that's one of the things we'll be looking at tomorrow, I believe so. So any question from anybody? I know some of you maybe will be looking at that. We didn't even write enough code today. We didn't write many code today at all. Hmm? Don't worry. When you'll be writing code is coming. Writing code front and back. Emmanuel, you didn't understand this ASCII, right? ASCII to what I would say is don't worry yourself too much about it. But I'll try and get a video, a YouTube video that will help explain if I can lay my hands on anyone, and then I'll post the link here on the Telegram group so that we can then go and then get more understanding about it. Okay. All right. Since there's no question, I think we can call it a night. So guys, I'll see you again tomorrow in class. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Sola. Thank you, Dada. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Esther Odumosu. Thank you, Esther Mojowo. Esther Yola is not here again. Thank you, Dayat. Thank you, Richuku. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Oluwatosin. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, James. Thank you, Bisola. So God bless you all, and I'll see you again tomorrow. What you've learned today, the one you understand, the one you don't understand, God will make you understand it in Jesus' name. We will all get it. But the truth is, you may not really use this conversion thing much when you are coding, because sometimes the IDE we are using or the web server just do that for us at the back end. It's just for us to understand what happens at the back end. That's why I decided to show it to us today. So thank you guys. God be with you tonight, and may He guide you and protect you. So I'll see you again tomorrow. God bless you, and bye-bye.